Welcome to Week 2, Presentation 2. Today we're going to continue our discussion on globalization. Firms that find success in global markets are usually ones that are successful in domestic competition. Those firms that survive domestic competition are the ones that are strong enough to survive the riskier competition found in global markets. Many small firms have been successful in global markets because they might have a niche, or they might possess unique information or a patented technology or license that allows them to operate without competition. There are different methods in entering global markets. The cheapest and easiest method of entering a global market is to simply export your product to a foreign country. This is the least risky because if your efforts fail, you've made very little investment in that foreign market. You might produce your goods in California and ship them to Japan or China. Indirect exporting refers to selling domestically produced goods through an intermediary or broker. This broker specializes in international trade and will be familiar with the nuances of that country, the rules and regulations, the culture and language, all aspects that the business should understand to succeed in that market. If this kind of expertise is not needed, the company may engage in direct exporting and sell directly to the consumers in the foreign country without any intermediary. Licensing occurs when a company has a patent or trade secret and they sell these rights to another company for a royalty or fee. Royalties will continue to bring revenue into the licensor as the licensee continues to sell the product. However, the licensor loses control of that product, and some companies continue to innovate their product in order to keep the licensee dependent upon them for improvements. U.S. companies may contract with a foreign company to manufacture a product according to specifications. This product may be exported back to the United States, or it may be sold in that country. Remember that some companies will operate in foreign countries in order to get closer to their customers. This reduces transportation costs of the product from one country to another. Another reason for outsourcing is a reduction in labor cost. In this case, the product may be exported back to the United States. The reduction in labor costs should be more than enough to compensate for the increase in transportation costs. In other cases, U.S. companies may manufacture parts of a product and have it assembled overseas. Franchising is another method of globalization, and one of the biggest franchises in the world is McDonald's. 70% of McDonald's restaurants are franchised, and 70% of McDonald's 2001 income came from overseas. So despite being an American company, McDonald's benefits greatly from globalization. Joint ventures are created when a foreign company and a domestic company join together in a partnership. These companies now share ownership, control, and profits. A U.S. company may enter a foreign country and form a partnership with the local company there because the local company is more likely to understand the market. It reduces the risk of globalization associated with cultural and language differences since the domestic company already operates in that country. Ford Motor Company and Volkswagen joined forces to manufacture four-wheel drive vehicles in Portugal in a joint venture. Totally owned facilities are the largest investment a company can make. This step typically occurs after one or more of the previous steps. A company may start exporting its product to determine if there's a market for that product in a foreign country. Once it's determined that demand exists for that product, the company may then decide to set up shop in the foreign country and open a manufacturing plant. Japan and South Korea realized that one of the biggest consumers of their cars was North America. As a result, many Japanese and South Korean automotive manufacturers have opened up manufacturing plants in the United States. A trading company is a firm that buys product from one country and sells it in another. It is typically not involved in the manufacturing of the product, but acts as an intermediary between two countries. Grain trading companies are one example. These companies buy grain in one country and sell it in another. This is important because some companies have a surplus of grain because of their climate and natural resources, while others don't have the ability to grow grain, yet it's an important part of their diet. Multinational companies are those which operate globally but not from any specific country. Although ExxonMobil is a U.S. company, it's considered multinational because it operates out of many different countries. It's organized under U.S. law and headquartered in Texas. However, it has assets and facilities in many other countries. Other companies include Coca-Cola, Walmart, and Honda. These companies might be headquartered in the United States or Japan, but have facilities in various countries. There are variables that affect global markets but not domestic ones. Values need to be taken into consideration when looking to expand into a foreign country. Managers need to understand the differences in these values in order to succeed. Imagine if McDonald's tried to sell hamburgers made out of 100% beef in India. What do you think would happen to sales? McDonald's did its homework, and as a result, their hamburgers are not made out of beef in India, they're made out of mutton. Consumers need to be taken into consideration. In the United States, it's customary for husbands and boyfriends to give their wives and girlfriends chocolate on Valentine's Day. Therefore, the target market for these candy companies would be men. If that candy company tries to export to Japan and target men, they would be targeting the wrong market. In France, since women wear fewer cosmetics than men, who do you think cosmetic companies should target in their advertising campaigns? Remember that marketing is all about targeting the right audience in order to maximize sales. Language is important to understand as well. There are 3,000 languages and 100 of them are official languages. 17 languages are spoken in India, and companies that expand into foreign markets need to understand these languages. Procter & Gamble sold Pert shampoo in Canada until they realized Pert meant lost in French. By simply switching 2 letters around, they didn't substantially change the appearance of the name, but they did change the meaning of the name. Pret means ready, and it's probably more appropriate for the name of their shampoo. Cultural ethnocentricity might also be a factor in global companies. If the citizens of a country are extremely ethnocentric, they might tend to favor their culture over others and believe it to be immoral to purchase imported products. A company expanding into another country needs to understand if this is going to be an issue. Why would they sell their products in a country that didn't want their products? If nobody's going to buy their products, this defeats the purpose of exporting. However, aggressive marketing might be utilized to overcome this cultural ethnocentricity. Either way, the company needs to do its homework before entering that country. Trade regulations also need to be understood. Different countries have different trade regulations. Japan has 11,000 trade regulations, while the European Union has 10,000 regulations. Companies need to be familiar with these regulations because all it takes is one regulation to prevent the sales of a product in a foreign country. Consider the rule that Japanese car parts must be manufactured in Japan. If your company manufactured car parts and tried to export to Japan, how much money do you think your company would make? Or if your company sold cold medicine. In the United States, we can buy this product over the counter. In Japan, a prescription is required, meaning it's a little bit more difficult to purchase cold medicine. It's these kinds of regulations that need to be considered when looking at foreign expansion. The political stability of the region is also important to successful commerce. If you're operating in a war zone, bear in mind your employees will almost certainly be affected. Distribution channels and transportation routes might be interrupted. Facilities might be attacked or bombed by hostile forces. A foreign corporation may suffer from governmental discrimination as governments attempt to give local firms a home field advantage. Taxes and regulations may be imposed on foreign firms that domestic firms don't have to adhere to. A friendly government may not remain friendly if the government is deposed and there's a shift in leadership. The new government may not have the same view of foreign corporations as the old government. Expropriation of property may even occur, causing a foreign company to suffer loss of assets. There are several ways to enter global markets and many issues that need to be taken into consideration in order to reduce the risk of globalization. All of these are important concepts for a manager to understand for a firm to be successful in the global market. This concludes today's presentation. Thank you for joining me.